All right, good morning. It's Wednesday, March 5th of 2017, and this is kind of a catch-up day and review day for your test that you're going to have on Friday. So a couple of announcements. Today is the day that if you have not finished any of those assignments from Monday and Tuesday, because they were fairly lengthy and there was some discussion, you need to get those finished and get those turned in. A reminder that the test is on Friday, and then today I'm going to give you a couple of questions for you to think about for your test and maybe prepare some specific examples. Again, the test is going to be discussion. I will be grading the test, so you need to make sure that you're very clear, you have your examples, and you're prepared when you come to class on Friday to answer those questions. The other thing that I want to remind you of is that on Friday, that's the last day to pay and sign up for your AP exams. So, if you need to finish up those other assignments, you can pause this right now and go ahead and get those out and finish those. If not, the next set of questions are some discussion questions that are going to be possibly, they're all fair game, could be on your test on Friday. So when you look at the first one here, number one says name 3 different ways that William Lord Garrison describes Frederick Douglass in the preface, and support each of these descriptions with evidence from the narrative. So you're going to need to know 3 specific ways in which he's described, and then how you see it in the book. So, like, I'll give you an example. The first one, there's one description of him being humble. Douglass was humble, and then you can look at one of the examples in the book where he regarded his selection to go to Baltimore as remarkable. So there's several little simple ones. This is not necessarily a really long question, but you need to have in your head 3 ways in which he's described, and then a specific example from the book that supports the way in which Garrison described him. Number 2 says in Wendell Phillips' letter to Douglass, he states that the most abominable aspect of slavery is the blighting death which gathers over the slave's soul. First, you're going to be asked, possibly, to explain this quote. What does it mean? What's the imagery, the language that the feelings conjured up by the language? So explain it, kind of summarize it, put it in your own words, and then give 2 examples of the text, and then you're going to explain your examples that you give, okay? Number 3, Wendell Phillips states that Douglass is a truthful, candid, sincere writer who, when there was something positive to note about a slaveholder, noted it. And it says provide an example of his doing this in the narrative. So there's a couple that you could pull from, but make sure you're looking at it's saying he was a truthful, candid, sincere writer. He's very honest throughout the whole thing. So give an example, and this would be kind of like your literary analysis. So if you're going to give a quote of Douglass describing something, or you're proving that he's very truthful and candid, and then you would take the time to explain or give a little analysis of what the quote is that you gave. Number 4 says to paraphrase what Douglass notes and explains about slave songs and their singing in Chapter 2. You're probably going to need to go back to Chapter 2 and look at that. What's kind of the purpose of the slave songs? How do they affect the slaves? There is a deep emotion that is connected to that, so make sure you talk about that when you're discussing the importance of singing in Chapter 2. And then number 5 says, what do these 3 examples of killed slaves, which Douglass describes in Chapter 4, let me start over, sorry. What do the 3 examples of killed slaves, which Douglass describes in Chapter 4, show about the people who killed them and the community's attitude about killing slaves? So make sure that you go back and look at that, and look at the people who were killing the slaves, describe kind of them, what's their attitude, or whatever they may be lacking, and then how does the community feel about it, and maybe provide some examples in your explanation for that. So those are 5 to get you started. I'll give you 5 more tomorrow. But you need to, and again, this also is helping you review to some of the events and the people in the book. So, also, if you have any questions or you are confused or you need help or there's something on a paper that you got back graded and you want more explanation, please come see me during tutorial time before or after school. Well, obviously tutorial time before school or after school, and let me know so that I can look at it and we can talk about that. After Friday, like I said, we will start AP Language practice for the exam itself.